Hello, folks. How are you doing today? We are here. It is a Thursday morning at 10 a.m. In other words, prime time. I have talked a little bit about how I have started a play, and my kind of streaming availability is weird, so I wanted to do one at kind of a weird time. But we are getting so close. I don't know if that music is too loud. But we're getting so close to the end here on our ranking of the 151 greatest Pokemon of all time. This is 39 to 30 today. Let's see. I just want to put this in the chat always because this music rules. Okay, so let's just get started. Last episode, we went through the 40s. At number 49, we had Sceptile. At number 48, we had Zoroark with that amazing regional form. At 47, we had Garchomp. At 46, we had Pidgeot. At 45, we had Milotic. At 44, we had Magikarp. At 43, we had Vaporeon. At 42, just above Vaporeon, we had Flareon. At 41, we had Arceus. And then at 40, we had our friend, and everyone's friend, Lapras. But I'm very excited to... Oh my gosh, the surf music just came on from Gen 2. That's really serendipitous for our friend Lapras here. Okay, so... let's move on to number 39, and if you watched the last episode, I did already accidentally spoil it, so here we go. At number 39, we have Espeon. Espeon is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, definitely in my top 5. It is amazing, I love it so much. Espeon and its counterpart Umbreon that were introduced in Generation 2, I still consider them to be like classic evolutions. Even though you had the OG 3, Jolteon, Flareon, Vaporeon, Espeon and Umbreon to me are kind of like honorary OG evolutions. Because then we get Leafeon, Glaceon, Sylveon later. Okay. So, what makes Espeon so wonderful? Well, it is a part of that iconic Johto duo. Espeon and Umbreon, which we have not encountered on this list yet, are probably two of the most popular Pokemon of all time. Another great thing for Espeon is that it actually got an opportunity to be a starter Pokemon alongside Umbreon in Pokemon Coliseum, which is really, really cool and very, very unique. Also, in those games, you get your starter Pokemon at like level 25. Because you start out the game as not a complete novice trainer for the first and maybe only time in the series. It's very, very cool. And Espeon and Umbreon are always tied together, just kind of as like the sun and the moon in that way. Very, very cool. So, also an evolution here for Espeon. Any evolution is going to have a shot to be on the list. Has a lot of the same resume points as the OG evolutions. A member of the Kimono Girls squad, basically. And it does have some good Elite Four and Gym Leader representation with it being a member of Lucian's team in Platinum. I do not think Lucian has an Espeon in Diamond and Pearl, if I'm not mistaken. And then it is a member of Gym Leader Sabrina's team in the Johto games. So Espeon is obviously not in the OG Kanto games or their remakes, but in the Johto games, they have that nice little nod to Espeon in Gen 2 because it was new for Gen 2. And maybe, I think certainly its most iconic feature on NPC team is on Pokemon Trainer Red's team, but only in Generation 2. because they decided to give Red an Espeon, which I thought was so cool, and maybe one of the reasons I love Espeon to this day. Red, of course, being the super boss of the OG Gold, Silver, and Crystal games. But in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the remakes, they decided to give Red a Lapras instead. My guess is that they wanted to connect him a little more to Ash in the anime. They wanted to connect him maybe a little more to, like, canonically receiving that gift Lapras in the Silph Company. And then third, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, his battle takes place on top of Mount Silver, and there's hail. So they maybe wanted to have that ice type to not take hail damage. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons why they maybe decided to take Espeon off of Red's team, but I missed the Espeon in Heart Gold Soul Silver. I cannot tell a lie. Even though I love Lapras. I mean, Lapras was number 40. They're right next to each other. But I love Espeon for that reason. We got some great cards here. We have some wonderful holos. Look at this thing. Look at this Espeon holo from Neo Discovery. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. The colors in the background, the pose. Oh, it's so great. I love this artwork very much. One of my favorite cards in my collection for sure. I mean, that design, the Espeon design is so good. Man, the jewel in the middle, the eyes, the glowing eyes, that lavender color. It's so gorgeous. Love Espeon as a design. And yeah, I think I mentioned at the top, look at this dark Espeon right here. Same artist, which is awesome. So we had more of like a light Espeon in Neo Discovery, but here in Neo Destiny we have a literal dark Espeon, and Nishida is the artist for both of those cards, which is very interesting. I love them both. It makes sense. Espeon got a Gold Star card, much like a lot of the other evolutions. This one is green because this is the shiny Espeon. Espeon shiny is famously unpopular. I don't really like it that much either, but it got a Gold Star card. Psychic Boom. And then we have this iconic VMAX card. This is one of the iconic modern cards. This came in Fusion Strike, if I'm not mistaken. Here you see Espeon just resting on top of a building. It's so freaking cute and so freaking powerful looking. It's a bit of both. This Espeon VMAX is, along with the Umbreon VMAX, one of the iconic cards of the modern Pokemon card era. So, you put that all together, and that's where we get Espeon at number 39. I think it's one of the greatest designs of all time. I actually have an Espeon plush back on my shelf. Let me grab her. Because I think Espeon is so wonderful. Oh, so lovely. We love to see it. All right. I'll set him next to Lugia for now. All right. But let's go ahead and move along. I've gushed about Espeon enough. This is definitely a Pokemon that I would have way higher if I was not trying to be as objective as possible, but, you know. That's the exercise. So let's move to 38. Here we have Arcanine. Arcanine is an extraordinarily popular Pokemon as one of the OG dog Pokemon. Arcanine has many great features in the OG games, specifically as a member of Blue/Gary's team. You will see Arcanine on Champion Blue's team in the OG games and the remakes. You'll see Arcanine on Blue's Gym Leader team in the Gen 2 games. You'll see Arcanine as Blaine's ace in the OG games. Arcanine was meant to be a legendary Pokemon. Its subclass is the legendary Pokemon, so it makes a lot of sense that Game Freak really wanted to feature it in the original games. It was really one of the key Pokemon for Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. It's one of the building blocks of the franchise in that way, is Arcanine. So, talked about being on Gym Leader Blue's team. It's actually his ace Pokemon, which is awesome. And Arcanine is featured in Blue's champion teams if he does not have Charizard. That is kind of like the fire Pokemon that gets subbed in if he doesn't have Charizard. But in Yellow, that actually changes. They wanted to make Blue's team feel just a little bit different in Yellow, so they give him kind of like a whole new set of Pokemon. So he can have Magneton on his Yellow team, he can have Cloyster on his Yellow team. He actually has Ninetales in Yellow. So, but featured Pokemon of Gary Oak. I talked, like, Blue and Gary are, like, counterparts in the anime and in the games. And probably the two main Pokemon of Gary in the original series are his Arcanine and his Nidoking. And you see Arcanine and Nidoking try to fight Mewtwo, I believe, in the original Pokemon movie, which is so good. They just put those original Pokemon movies on YouTube. Just on YouTube. They're so good. Everybody watch them, especially the second one. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. It gets a nice feature in Pokemon Snap that I want to mention. Because you can have these, in the volcano area, you have these Growlithe that kind of like pop out. But then if you make enough Growlithe pop out, the Arcanine will pop out, and it's super, super cool. So I wanted to mention that. And of course, we just played through Pokemon Legends Arceus on the channel, and we have this absolutely gorgeous regional form, this Hisuian Arcanine, the Lord of the Isles. Not only does it get its own regional form, it gets its own boss fight in Arceus, which is so, so, so cool. And of the OG, or not OG, of the base game boss fights, like not Arceus, Arcanine is definitely one of the more difficult for me personally. But I love this artwork. I think this artwork makes it look way cooler than it honestly does in the game. Kind of has that black smoke cloud volcano look. Let's see. It's featured in the Pokemon Detective Pikachu film. Not a heavy feature, but it is in there. Oh my gosh, I have to mention, when you go into Victory Road in the post-game, in the Generation 4 games, you can team up with Pokemon trainer Marley, and she has an Arcanine, and I always remember that. It's very, very cool. Loves to use Helping Hand, loves to use Fire Fang. I love that little segment of Pokemon Platinum that we played through. And, of course, Marley is related to Mai from Legends Arceus. Iconic design. I kind of talked about that a little bit. It's a dog Pokemon, kind of like the OG big, beautiful boy dog, you know. Gorgeous. Houndoom is actually a really great counterpart to Arcanine in Generation 2. And a ride Pokemon in Let's Go. For those of you that don't know, oh, and again, and I will mention, I always forget to do this at the top, but anytime, any Pokemon I talk about, I can talk about any game that they feature in. So, if you have not played any of the Pokemon games, I could talk about them, could spoil some stuff. So, just be warned. Anyway, in the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee games, there are certain Pokemon that you can ride on. Because those games have a following Pokemon, have a following Pokemon feature where Pokemon can follow you. People love that. It's very cute. Lets you connect with your faves. But some of those Pokemon, instead of following you, you can ride on them. And you can just zip around the Kanto region, majestically riding on your Arcanine. It's so cool. Really, really awesome feature for Arcanine. And now we'll get into its TCG stuff. It gets a card in the original TCG base set. I always thought it would have been cool to get a holo card in the original base set, but it's just an uncommon. Still really cool. Got that 100 HP back in the day, was a big deal. Flamethrower, very powerful still. But I thought that would have been a good candidate for a holo, maybe instead of Clefairy or something. I don't know. But, so that's great. Ooh, got some good features. This Gym Challenge Blaine's Arcanine is another classic right here by Sugimori. Beautiful. That Firestorm attack, 120 damage, I remember was a big deal. And then finally we have this Neo Destiny Holo. This is like the Doge artwork. Oh, Nishida, once again, very popular Neo artist, I see. And you have those like flowers in the background, which is really interesting. This light Arcanine is just fabulous in every way. Really like this light Arcanine. So Arcanine is a no-brainer here in the top 40. It is gorgeous. It has great NPC features and great video game features overall. So, 38, we have Arcanine. Let's move on. Number 37, we have Palkia. Palkia is one of the cover stars of the Generation 4 games and their Generation 8 remakes. Of course, being on the cover of Pearl and Shining Pearl. It's a legendary Pokemon. It has that iconic lore. Palkia is the master of space, where its counterpart Dialga is the master of time. Playing through Legends Arceus, we have this origin form here, which we talked about this a little bit with Arceus a couple slots back. I always thought it was interesting they decided to give this Palkia no arms, but putting it on 4 legs and giving it that Arceus ring really helps connect it to Arceus and makes it feel like another part of Arceus, which I really, really like. I thought the retconned origin forms for Palkia and Dialga were really, really cool. Of course, we have here Pokemon Legends Arceus boss fight. We experienced that. Actually, we didn't, because we, choosing to go with Irida, we actually fought Dialga as the main story final fight. Whereas if you choose the opposite, you will have Palkia. We actually used Palkia against Dialga, so that's very, very cool. Featured in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, I know that it is. I have not played those games, but I know that Palkia has a nice feature there. I do recall its Spear Pillar stage in Smash Bros. That was in Brawl. I remember when that was introduced for the Wii. On that Spear Pillar stage, Palkia can show up and do some weird things, make the stadium all messed up. We talked about that with Arceus as well. Featured in Pokemon The Rise of Darkrai. That was a very, very big movie for the Generation 4 legendaries and mythicals. But we have some really, really great modern illustration rares here. This absolutely beautiful Palkia V-Star. I remember actually pulling this card from a Crown Zenith pack, which was super, super cool. I decided to sell it, but it is really, really gorgeous. All of them are. This Arceus, Dialga, and Giratina make a really, really nice kind of like larger artwork. Oh, gosh. This looks so good up close. I love that illustration right there. That is beautiful. Then we have this from Astral Radiance. And this also features the origin form, Palkia. You'll have to forgive me. I don't remember the artist, but it's like I don't know. That's not a Picasso. Anyway, where you have like all of the stairs going every which way. I forget what artwork that is. But this really evokes that, really kind of evokes the spatial powers of Palkia, kind of making all the buildings and stairs messed up, which is really, really neat. This was a really, really cool card in Astral Radiance. I think that set is really underrated. It and Dialga have really good illustration rares. But Palkia has a lot of the same, has a very similar resume as Arceus And if you recall, Arceus was just a few entries back. But the reason I had Palkia up above Arceus is Palkia is just so much more forward-facing of a Pokemon. And you were just so much more likely to encounter it, to use it, to just engage with it when you were playing those Diamond and Pearl games and whatnot. So I decided that Palkia should be a few slots above the god Pokemon himself, Arceus, and we have Palkia at number 37. But, fittingly, at number 36, just above Palkia, we have Dialga. And I put Dialga... I personally enjoy Dialga more than Palkia. I was a Diamond player and a brilliant Diamond player. We talked about those cover star features on Diamond and Brilliant Diamond. A lot of the same touch points as Palkia. We have the Legends Arceus boss fight, which we actually experienced. We have the Origin form here that I will show off right now. This Origin form, gosh, I love this thing. I think it looks so good. I think I've talked about it here before in this series. I mean, definitely did with Arceus, but love the weird thing in his neck. Again, you have the cool, more Arceus-like leg thing going on. I just like how messed up this one looks. Because at first I thought it was ugly, but then I'm like, ooh, I like how it looks otherworldly. It looks celestial. It looks, kind of godlike in that way. But really, besides my own personal biases, I wanted to put Dialga above Palkia because, one, I think its design is just a little stronger, and it actually gets another form. It gets this primal form, which is really just kind of Dialga with some orange in there. But it does get a new form, and it gets this as the final boss of one of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. So that was kind of the tiebreaker for me when it came to Dialga and Palkia. Again, a lot of these legendaries, like the box legendaries, are designed to be counterparts of each other and designed to really have similar strengths, honestly. So they're going to have a lot of the same resume points, but I think Dialga is just a little bit stronger for that reason. We still have that beautiful stage in Smash Bros. Brawl, which we love, the feature in Darkrai, and it also gets great illustration rares in Crown Zenith and Astral Radiance. We talked about this one a little bit with Palkia. I love the kind of like he's kind of looking down a little bit. It just looks very regal and very cool. Because the way it is, Arceus is in the middle here, Giratina is in the middle down there, Palkia is like jumping off this way, Dialga's jumping off this way, which is really awesome. Star Chronos, 220 damage. That's pretty powerful. And then in Astral Radiance, oh my goodness. This is one of my favorite modern cards of all time. I think this thing is so, so beautiful. I love the colorful sky and the little kind of like time warp thing behind Dialga. Ooh, and the moon's right there as well. I hadn't even really noticed that. This is just really evocative of Dialga as like a master of time with the little time warp thing and just like floating among a beautiful sky. Gosh, I love this artwork so much. Also by Arita, the legend. Very, very cool. Gosh, I love this card. Alrighty. I was really happy to add this to my collection. I remember waiting for a very long time, waiting for the price to go down until it was just cheap enough where I felt comfortable buying it. Love this Dialga. And that really is most of what we have for Dialga at 36. Again, the resume points for Palkia and Dialga are going to be very, very similar, but again, I think Dialga is the slightly stronger choice, and that's why it gets the number 36 slot. If you disagree with me, please let me know about it. All right, let's go down to number 35 now. We have Kyogre at number 35. Kyogre was my personal choice as a kid. I chose to play Sapphire over Ruby. I really love this thing. I think it is a really unique design for a legendary Pokemon. How it's kind of like waterlocked. It's more of like a whale Pokemon, like an ancient prehistoric whale, which is so interesting and cool to me. I think this is definitely one of the more unique legendary Pokemon designs of all time, if I'm being honest, and that's one of the reasons it's up here at number 35. And so, more tangible things. It's a cover star twice. It is the cover star of Pokemon Sapphire and its Gen 6 remake Alpha Sapphire. Legendary Pokemon, iconic lore, kind of the master of the seas. Whereas you have Rayquaza as the master of the skies and Groudon as the master of land. Excuse me. And Kyogre and Groudon need to be in balance of one another. Oh, yes. A big thing we got to mention for Kyogre is its iconic signature ability called Drizzle, where the moment Kyogre is sent out onto the field, it summons rain, which is super interesting, super cool, and has become like a VGC mainstay. Having those, a couple more Pokemon have gained that ability since, which allows them to set up weather for free, which can be very valuable to power up your water type attacks or make it so thunder can never miss, for example. Kyogre gets a Pokeball in Smash Bros, which is very cool. Kind of like, use a water spout to launch opponents off of the battlefield. Featured in Pokemon Generations. It was really cool. I talked about the Sceptile infiltrating the Team Magma base, but there is also an episode where Team Aqua kind of envisions a future where they are successful in their pursuit of expanding the sea, and they are actually very humbled by what they see because they see, the disaster that it would be. Very interesting episode of Pokemon Generations. Pretty dark, actually. And Kyogre is obviously the centerpiece of that, which is super cool. We have a lot of great TCG features for Kyogre here. This double Crisis Full Art. This was, I believe, this was a Gen 6 card. Oh man, you have the gorgeous Shelly over there on the right. But this is kind of evocative of that Pokemon Generations episode. They used the Gen 6 models, the Gen 6 redesigns of Shelly and Matt down there on the left. Archie's not featured here, however. But we have the Sharpedo, the Seviper, the Walrein. This is very cool. It's Team Aqua's Kyogre EX, which is awesome. We have a Gold Star card for Kyogre as well. The gold, ooh yeah, love this. It's got the shiny form pink going on, and of course it's got Sheer Cold, a one-hit KO move, which is really awesome. Critical Collection, very interesting. But yeah, we have the Gold Star Kyogre. Gen 3 is when they did the Gold Stars, so you're going to see kind of an uptick of Pokemon from Gen 3 that get that treatment. And the Legend card here, Kyogre actually shares a Legend card with Groudon. Kyogre here at the top and Groudon here at the bottom. Legend cards, they were pretty interesting for their time. The way the artwork is and the way the lettering is kind of weird. It's kind of like a polarizing era of the TCG, but is still pretty cool. You could fit these cards together, and it's very unique. So we love to see that for Kyogre. I didn't even mention its origin form. Kyogre, it's not necessarily an origin form. It's kind of like a primal reversion, they call it. It's like a mega evolution, but instead of evolving further, it reverts to its angry primal state. Still really cool, and that is Kyogre's new big thing in Alpha Sapphire. So still really cool there. Kyogre is this high. You could argue that Palkia and Dialga have maybe more on their resume, but I would argue that those Generation 3 box legendaries are just more iconic in the zeitgeist, more iconic in their designs, especially being kind of like the first soft reboot of the Pokemon series. They have kind of done that several times as they've gone along. And of course, they chose Ruby and Sapphire to kind of mimic the red and the blue as like the soft reboot. They do that again, kind of like with Black and White, and kind of in Generation 9 as well with Scarlet and Violet. So, put it all together, we have Kyogre here at number 35 on the list of the 151 greatest Pokemon of all time. And then, similar to what we just encountered, at number 34, we have Groudon. It is interesting because this is kind of the inverse of what I did with Dialga and Palkia, where I had my personal favorite above the other one. But here, Kyogre is my personal favorite, but I have Groudon ahead of it. Now, why do I? If you look at their resumes, they are very similar. They're almost completely the same. But Groudon is featured in the movie Jirachi Wishmaker. And I have a memory of watching this movie on TV. And there is like a huge, like angry primal Groudon. I don't even know what the situation is in the movie. It's like not a regular Groudon. I don't remember why. But it has an epic final clash with this angry primal Groudon in the end of the Jirachi Wishmaker film. And I always thought that was really cool and captured my imagination. And I think Groudon's design is just a little bit easier to kind of wrap your head around. And I feel like a lot of kids really enjoyed its like overtly like monstrous, edgy design. So I think Groudon does have the edge over Kyogre for that reason. But you know, a lot of the same deal in that Pokemon Generations episode that we saw a clip of with Sceptile. Team Magma is going through their plot for Groudon, much like Aqua was going for their plot for Kyogre. One thing I don't have written here, but I think I could mention is in the original Ruby and Sapphire games, Groudon and Kyogre are both in the seafloor cavern, but in Pokemon Emerald, one of the greatest Pokemon games of all time, I would argue, Groudon actually gains its own area for the Magma Aqua plot. Groudon actually gets a new Team Magma base area, which we see in that Generations episode beneath Mount Chimney, which is really cool. You use the Magma emblem to get under there. I love that. So that's another little feather in Groudon's cap that it maybe has over Kyogre, because in Emerald, Kyogre just also uses the seafloor cavern, like had already existed in the previous games. But talked about this a lot, all this other stuff. Let's look at Groudon's origin form again. Very similar to Kyogre. It's like it's similar to the Dialga primal form that we looked at as well. It's just kind of like that. Those lines on Dialga, Kyogre, Groudon start to glow, change a different color. So we have this angrier primal Groudon. But this primal Groudon, I believe, is a fire type, which many thought the original Groudon would be, but it's just pure ground. So the primal Groudon actually gains the fire type, which is very interesting, and another point for it. It does not have the same signature ability as Kyogre. Obviously, Kyogre summons rain, Groudon summons harsh sunlight, which it was always very cool when you could use Groudon's drought ability to summon the sunlight, and Groudon could learn Solar Beam, so you could just use fire off Solar Beams from Groudon for free, which I thought was really fun, because Solar Beam was one of my favorite moves growing up, but I always hated that it was a charge move. And even when you could set up Sun to make it go by in one turn, it was still an extra setup that I just didn't like to play with as a child. It took too much time. But having Groudon being able to fire solar beams for free was very great for me. But a lot of its features are similar to Kyogre. We obviously talked about the Legend card that they share. Its Double Crisis Full Art is much like Kyogre's. We have Courtney over there as well. Some of the other Team Magma adjacent Pokemon like Camerupt. And it's just facing the opposite way. Very, very much made to be companion pieces. Team Magma's Groudon and Team Aqua's Kyogre EX. That was in Gen 6. And then its Gold Star card, very cool as well. We have the gold Groudon with that big claw coming at you. Very, very cool. Also has the critical collection ability. But, again, even though I personally prefer Kyogre, I think Groudon has a little bit of a stronger case on this list, so it gets up one extra slot to number 34 on the 151 greatest Pokemon of all time list. All right. Lots of talking. Let's move to number 33, and there we have Jigglypuff. Very different from Groudon. Jigglypuff is a very simple design, but an extremely effective design. It is an absolute icon of the original anime. Of course, Jigglypuff using its sing ability to put Ash and his friends to sleep. And of course, that little microphone it's carrying also doubles as a marker, so when they're asleep, it'll draw silly faces on them. Jigglypuff in the anime, it is just as iconic as it comes. It definitely deserves this place on the list for that alone. But it is a cute mascot for the series. We've talked about goofy mascots with Bidoof and such. Jigglypuff is a cute mascot. It is so adorable. It's pink, it's round, it's fluffy, it's great. You gotta love it. Its design is just so easily graspable. It is really, really lovely. And Jigglypuff was one of the original Pokemon that you could play as in Super Smash Bros. It shared that with Pikachu, which is really, really awesome. We talked about Pichu already on this list. I believe if you go to Smash Bros. Melee, which was the second Smash Bros. Game they made for the GameCube, Jigglypuff was featured with Pikachu, Pichu, and Mewtwo, which are, iconic Pokemon in their own right. And Jigglypuff kind of being like a companion to Kirby in those games as well made tons of sense to feature. Jigglypuff being in Smash Bros. Is a huge feather in its cap. Featured in Pokemon Snap. It has a lot of fun things to do, I believe, in the tunnel, or the cave area, where it'll be like floating around like behind a coffin, I believe. And you can also get it to sing on a little stage toward the end of the cave stage in Pokemon Snap. So that's a really, really great feature for it in Snap. Gosh, I love that game. We should play that. Featured in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Again, the Mystery Dungeon games featured Pokemon that were like cute series mascots, like Pikachu, like other starters. Jigglypuff is kind of lumped in with starter Pokemon in terms of like marketing. Because obviously Jigglypuff is not going to be on this list for its battle prowess, but it is such a mainstay in Pokemon the brand. It got a baby form in Generation 2. That baby form, of course, being Cleffa. Not Cleffa, Igglybuff. Igglybuff! Right there, you have the whole line right there. Igglybuff, Jigglypuff, and Wigglytuff. So Generation 2, it gained its own baby Pokemon, which is super cool. Featured in Detective Pikachu, which is delightful. You knew it would be. It's one of the most iconic and popular Pokemon of all time. I'll show off its card here in the Jungle set. Really, really, really great. I love this. You have the music notes. It's sitting around right there. I remember in the 2020 Pokemon card boom, I remember people were really valuing like this Jigglypuff and like the OG Jungle Eevee. The artworks are really great, but they're just common cards. So they're really easy to come by, but they were really overvalued at the time. Because Pokemon was just popping off. And it just continues to pop off and pop off and pop off some more. And one thing that I forgot to put on Jigglypuff's resume, Jigglypuff received a Paradox form in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So right here, we have Screamtail, which is a really, really cool, like, ancient primal version of Jigglypuff. And I think that kind of goes to show you the confidence that Game Freak has in Jigglypuff, because Wigglytuff didn't get that ancient form. Jigglypuff did. And Screamtail is just a really cool, powerful, psychic-type Pokemon. And people kind of theorize that this kind of connects Jigglypuff to Mewtwo in a way, because that big long tail on its head is kind of like Mewtwo's tail. It might be a little bit of a stretch, but I've heard that theory before. Screamtail is really, really neat. People tend to favor the ancient Paradox Pokemon, even though I do really like the futuristic Robo Pokemon of Violet. I played Violet. That's the version that I have. Can't wait to play that on the Switch too, by the way. But at the end of the day, Jigglypuff is just an iconic Pokemon in terms of Pokemon's branding. And that's really why we see it up here. That along with its iconic anime presence. And that's why we see it at number 33 on our list. And again, when we look here to number 32, the 30s here have really been the Companions episode. We saw Dialga and Palkia, we saw Kyogre and Groudon, and now we're going to see Jigglypuff, and it's not quite a companion, but it's very similar, you'll see. At number 32, we have Psyduck. Psyduck is very much another Pokemon that is iconic for the Pokemon brand. It is maybe the goofy mascot, along with Pokemon like Slowpoke and Bidoof. It's very, very great, and again, its big feather in its cap is that it's so connected to Misty in the original anime. It's iconic for its headaches, but then when its headaches get worse, its psychic powers are increased. It's always very funny, but very lovable. So yes, we talk about that iconic feature for the anime's Misty, but Psyduck also is the companion Pokemon for the character, I do not remember her name, in Detective Pikachu. Catherine Newton plays her. Anyway, there is a female character in Detective Pikachu, one of the main characters, played by Catherine Newton, and her companion Pokemon is a Psyduck, really mirroring that connection to Misty and her Psyduck. And that was so much so that in the Let's Go games, there in Generation 8, they decided to give Gym Leader Misty a Psyduck for the first time, because Misty famously just had a Staryu and a Starmie in the OG Pokemon games with their Gen 3 remakes. Featured in Pokemon Snap as well. I remember it really jumping up out of the water, which was very, very cute and silly. Of course, being that iconic goofy mascot, featured in Mystery Dungeon as well. Psyduck kind of, again, gets that starter Pokemon treatment in terms of its branding and its marketing. You'll see, I actually had this pulled up earlier. This is that Time magazine cover that I talked about with Poliwhirl. Psyduck is also featured here in the bottom left, so I don't want to leave Psyduck out of the fun there. of course, getting Blastoise, Charizard, Mewtwo. I mean, some of the most iconic Pokemon of all time. Excuse me. I mean, but at this point in the list, all of these Pokemon are some of the most iconic Pokemon of all time. But, oh my goodness. Featured in Detective Pikachu film, again, it is featured in Pokemon Concierge, which is a Netflix series, a relatively new Netflix series. And Psyduck, again, is a companion of the main Pokemon Haru in that show. And here I just wrote, it's a mascot of female protagonists. In Pokemon, by giving Misty, the most iconic female protagonist of all, a Psyduck in the original anime, they have gone back to that again with Detective Pikachu. They've gone back to it with Pokemon Concierge. That's just a thing for Psyduck. They always want to be kind of calling back to that iconic connection with Misty and Psyduck, which is very interesting and really just keeps the tradition alive, I guess. And as we talk about Psyduck's TCG features, I want to point this one out first. This is a modern card. Oh, this is featured in Destined Rivals. I love this card. This is Misty Psyduck. I think it is so cute. I think it is so beautiful. I have this card in Japanese myself because it's so much cheaper to get. And again, solidifying this Misty Psyduck connection. Any Pokemon connected to Misty is gonna be great, just because Misty is one of the most iconic human characters in the series. Psyduck also gets a feature in one of the original sets, of course, this being Fossil. I really, really like this card. Love Psyduck's silly little reflection there in the water. Gosh, this like watercolory backgrounds. This reminds me a lot of that Jigglypuff card we just looked at to connect those two further. And then this right here is an absolutely iconic modern promo. This was a series of exclusive promos that had Pokemon taking doing the scream pose. And there's a Pikachu, there's an Eevee, there's a Rowlet also, I believe. But here we have Psyduck getting the Scream promo treatment. These cards are extremely expensive now. And I actually like this one, having Haunter and Gengar in the background. Psyduck being scared of the ghost Pokemon behind it. Love that. But again, that connection to Misty is really what vaults Psyduck here into the discussion of being a top 40 Pokemon. Really, really great. Really fun, really funny. Always entertaining Psyduck in media. So that's why we see Psyduck here at number 32. Alrighty. Let's move on to number 31. Here we have Entei. Ooh, is this the... Oh, this is the Legendary Beast music. Wow. And I just brought Entei. Here we go. So here at number 31, we have Entei. And I just want to start... Oh, hello, Shell. How are you? Thanks for stopping by for a little while here. So here we have Entei, and I want to start, for me personally, with its feature in the third Pokemon movie. I love the first three Pokemon movies. I think they're so cool and so fun. And Entei has such an awesome, iconic feature in that movie, kind of like taking the place of the young girl's father. Very, very interesting. I love Entei in that movie. And that I always viewed Entei as one of the leaders of the legendary beasts. And that's why we see Entei above Raikou. Oh my gosh, yes. And it got the great promo. We're going to talk about that, don't you worry. We'll talk about it now while I'm doing it. So for that third movie, Entei also got this awesome reverse holo promo card. Oh, wow, this thing is so cool. The movie promos that they had for those first couple movies were so great. I loved the promos for the first movie. I love this Entei promo. Yes, it is so cool. Really, really awesome. And so that third Pokemon movie is just so huge for Entei. And what really lifted it above Raikou, we saw Raikou quite a few slots back, I believe in the 50s. And it has that same iconic lore as Raikou, the other legendary beasts. It was a Pokemon that had passed away but was resurrected by Ho-Oh. It was one of the original roaming legendary Pokemon. Once you found them in the Burn Tower in Gen 2, they would roam the Johto region, and it was always exciting randomly finding them in the grass because you would get that awesome music. You'd be like, oh, what's happening? And then you would run into that super powerful legendary Pokemon just out of nowhere. It was always so cool. I always hated how they ran away, though. But it is what it is. Smash Pokeball as well. I believe Entei would just launch like a big pillar of fire when it was summoned onto the field in Smash Bros. Featured in Pokemon Coliseum, I wanted to mention. All 3 of the legendary beasts are featured in Pokemon Coliseum. You can catch all of them, which is really, really cool. So you can use them in your playthrough, which is really, really great. And it's easier to encounter them in Pokemon Coliseum than it is in the games they debuted in many ways, which is very interesting and I think a cool thing for them. We have a Paradox form for Entei. We talked about Raging Bolt, the Paradox form for Raikou. Now we have Gouging Fire, the Paradox form for Entei. This one has taken a while to grow on me. It is pretty cool how it's like a saber-toothed tiger Triceratops hybrid with it's like a big headdress on it. Some of the Paradox forms I'm not as hugely into. This one has grown on me a little bit. I love the colors. I love the green, incorporating the green in there. And the big claws there in the front is pretty cool. So this is Gouging Fire. They introduced this with the DLC of Scarlet and Violet. So that's very cool that it gets an alternate form. And then we have some great TCG cards here. We have its Gold Star card. Raikou also receiving one. Very, very cool. Love that pose. I want to... Let's see. There is, I believe it's Team Rocket's Entei. There's Rocket's Entei EX, but hold on. There's an Entei card, another great Entei EX. I mean, there's a lot of great cards, but there is an Entei card. Let me see if I can find it here. Sorry, bear with me. Let's see. Right here, yes, Rocket's Entei. I love this artwork. It looks so regal, so cool. That wispy, ghostly stuff flying behind it. Love that. But yeah, there's its Gold Star once again. And then, right here, this Neo Revelation Holo of Entei is it just looks so menacing, so proud, so freaking cool. I love this Entei card. Really, all 3 of the legendary beasts get a great artwork in Neo Revelation. And as a set, they all look so great. It's a very expensive card to this day. We've got a Sugimori artwork on it. Really, really awesome. Let's see here. So then, you put all those things together, we have Entei here at number 31, really, really being buoyed by its feature in Pokemon 3, the movie. You can argue that the Unknown are kind of like the legendary star of that, but Entei is really, really great. Gosh, it's so cool. Also, fun fact, the voice actor of Molly's father in that movie, and then Entei after that, is the same as Yami Yugi from Yu-Gi-Oh! Which I always thought was cool and fun. But, folks, we are down to number 30. I can't believe it. This is our third to last episode. Our next episode of the ranking will be the penultimate episode, which is crazy. And here at number 30, we have Ho-Oh. The legendary bird that resurrected the legendary beasts. Ho-Oh is the cover star of Gold and Heart Gold. It is an iconic legendary Pokemon. One of the first Generation 2 Pokemon featured because in the original episode of the Pokemon anime, when Ash and Pikachu are attacked by the Spearow, after the fact, they see a rainbow Pokemon flying in the sky, that of course being Ho-Oh, which is one of the iconic features and spawned a whole nother movie way after the fact. So that's a great feather, rainbow feather, in Ho-Oh's cap. Iconic anime feature, Oh yeah, just right here. I have a picture right here. So this is the Ho-Oh that they see flying over the rainbow. I think it is in the intro of the original Pokemon anime. So Ho-Oh was maybe supposed to be featured a little earlier. I don't know. But it is the first Generation 2 Pokemon featured in the Pokemon anime, which is really great. Oh, great! I mentioned that it was a cover star of Gold and Heart Gold, but not of Stadium 2. It shares that distinction with Lugia, which is cool. We talked about that iconic lore that it had with the legendary beasts, and it is a trio master. So Ho-Oh is considered like the trio master of the legendary beasts, much like Lugia is kind of considered the trio master of the legendary birds. So they both kind of have that distinction, which is cool. We have an iconic signature move in Sacred Fire. Such a cool move. Ho-Oh was the only Pokemon that can learn it. It might still be, I think. And that move, correct me if I'm wrong, it always burned. Or it had a really, really high... Whoa, excuse me. It either always burned or had a really, really high chance of burn. Either way, super awesome. And it stars in the I Choose You movie. I talked about this a little bit, how that feature in the original Pokemon anime actually had them do kind of like a multiverse version of that episode as a movie. It's called Pokemon I Choose You. It stars Ash and Marshadow, so it was Gen 7, which is really interesting and weird. I've not seen the movie, but I've heard it's very interesting. It was also Smash Bros. Pokeball, specifically in Melee, which is great. A lot of those Gen 2 Pokemon got some nice features there. Oh, Melee is so good. Oh, it's like the best video game of all time. One of them. Anyway. Also featured in Pokemon Coliseum, Ho-Oh was kind of like one of the final prizes of Pokemon Coliseum, and I believe was featured in the final battle of that game. I need to play that game again. But we'll definitely play it on here. But I've only played it once, and I remember it being difficult. It's definitely remembered as one of the more difficult Pokemon games with its double battle structure. But yeah, Ho-Oh, one of the final prizes of Pokemon Coliseum, which is also awesome. Let's see. So here, we talked about legend cards a little bit earlier with Groudon and Kyogre. Ho-Oh also had its own legend card. It did not have to share with another Pokemon. Here, it kind of looks like a big chicken, which I don't love, but again, still cool that it got the feature. Let's see. Also has a crystal type holo. We talked about this a little bit with Kingdra and others. Very cool. I really like that line art. That feels kind of more Japanese in a really cool way. And then, of course, also gets a holo in Neo Revelation. This is kind of like the Ho-Oh rookie card, so to speak. It does also have a non-holo card in Revelation, so I guess you could argue that that's its rookie card, but either way. Still really, really awesome. Love this card. I will actually show off that non-holo Ho-Oh right here. Both cards featured in Neo Revelation. Really like this artwork as well. It's really, really cool. This is an artwork. You can kind of see Lugia's wing over there in the top left and Skarmory's wing in the bottom right. Those three cards actually make a little picture themselves, which is really cool. Love to see that. And I wanted to talk about with Ho-Oh, it's so funny. Oops, sorry. I kind of talk about how I am not like the expert of absolutely everything Pokemon. I do know a lot. But Ho-Oh was a Pokemon I actually forgot to put on the list when I initially made it, which I can't believe because it made it all the way up to the top 30. And while Ho-Oh is so awesome and so iconic, you will find out later why it is not featured as highly as its Generation 2 counterpart. And I'll just give you that little nugget for now. We'll get there, don't worry. But for today, that is going to be it for this episode. We have gotten through the 30s. Like I said, only 2 more episodes to go. We'll talk about the 20s, and then we'll talk about the... Oh, wait, no. Never mind. Oh, no, we're good. We're good. Sorry. I was miscounting. Because we'll get through the 20s, we'll get through the 10s, and then we'll get through the 1s. Pardon me. So, excuse me, we have 3 more episodes after today. Sorry. So, that's very exciting. The list is winding down, baby. I love talking about these iconic Pokemon. I just love video games, and I mean, you know where I'm at, folks. You know how I am. You could call me toxically positive, I suppose. But that's really all I want to talk about. I want to talk about the things I love, and here we are. So thank you for being here with me. Thank you for being here with me on this journey on YouTube. I know a lot of you people are following along on YouTube, which is really great. So thank you for that. And I will see you next time. And have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. And that's it. Peace, kids.